How's it going, guys? Welcome on back to the channel. It's that time of month again. We're doing a Monsterbass unbagging. Monsterbass bag. Full disclosure, I did sneak peek in here just kind of see what was in the bags. Just kind of get an idea of what to talk about, what not to talk about, really. Some interesting things. Most of it's pretty good. Some stuff's a little iffy from what I would normally throw. So we're going to get right into it. Of course, they come in the reusable bait bag. They got that. This material is pretty good. The first iteration of this was kind of stiff and brittle. This one's a much more flexy material. So yeah, so keep going with this Monsterbass. This one's much nicer. So we're gonna get right into it. First off, a bass hick sticker. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this is one of the baits that I kind of thought was a little bit not my style. It's a Jack Slab blade. It's a blade bait. Try to get some light on that. So that is something. It's a tungsten blade bait. I would use something like this during the shad spawn when the white bass are kind of schooling up and blowing up on those the shad balls while they're spawning. That's something I would use for that, or possibly if I get into ice fishing for walleye, something you can use just jig up off the bottom. Otherwise, I don't have any really use for that unless it's like winter. I guess those things are pretty good in the winter time when we got open water in the winter. So next is Mustad Treble Hooks 4 size. You get 2 of these. It's nice to have extra treble hooks in case you bend one out or something. Mustad is a really good brand for hooks, so those are pretty nice. Let's see. Next up is Bait Labs. These are made by Okuma. This Bait Labs is their Okuma makes reels and rods, and then they make Bait Labs. That's their baits. So this is a Fireshed Flamin shiner. So it's kind of an elongated crankbait, but you could probably use it as a jerkbait. It's gold with a little bit black on the back, so it's going to mimic some perch, some bluegills, some shiners. So that's actually a really nice bait to have for me up here in the Great Lakes. The big food source is perch and shiners and gobies. Next up is a Strike King XD Extra Deep Diving Crankbait. I believe that is a summer sexy shad. It's really nice to have. So that dives 10 to 12 feet. With this bait, something like this bait, I would use in the rivers mostly. I would throw it right along some rock walls, like rocks that kind of go into the bank or off the bank into the water. I would throw it parallel along those and dig it down. So like you got like 3 to 4 feet of water. That thing's gonna dive, dig down into the dirt. As I'm pulling it back into the boat, I usually have the boat sitting at about 9 to 10 feet, and I'm throwing towards the bank. So that's gonna keep just diving, and the smallmouth tend to hang out in that 8-9 foot range in the rivers. So I like to bring that back like that, and usually get a smallmouth closer to the boat when I'm doing something like that. And that's a smaller size bait, so it's going to be a lot easier for those smallmouth to grab onto that. And so I like that. And it's a sexy shad variation, so that's always a good color to have. You can just mimic some shad or minnows or whatever. Next up is a Thunderhawk hybrid diver. This is like a paddle tail swim bait. It's in a green pumpkin. I prefer to use a lot of different colors besides just straight green pumpkin. I like to use green pumpkin in like a mixture with like a blue or an orange, something like that. But it should still work pretty well. It's gonna mimic a shiner or a goby. I can actually drag this right along the bottom of the river. It should mimic a goby pretty well. The jig heads on them are 3/8 ounce, so like that. It's a little bit heavier. I like to use a little bit heavier of a jig head so I can just bomb that thing a little bit further. It's got a good size, nothing crazy big. Excuse me, nothing crazy big, so it's actually pretty good size to mimic a goby. So I can just drag it right around on the bottom there. Next up is a Monsterbass. It's a slick stick, 110 or 100, yeah, 110, slick stick 110. Sorry, 4.3 inches. This is a jerkbait. We need jerkbaits all the time. Cold weather, water, jerkbaits. It's a spinning jerkbait, so that's nice. So you're gonna pop, pop, pop. It's gonna dive down, whatever the diving depth is on it. 4 to 6 feet. So it's gonna dive. You're gonna give it those pops. It's gonna go down 4 to 6 feet. You're gonna pause it, and it's just gonna kind of sit there. And you're gonna pop, 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 and it's gonna do the jerking motion and just sit. So in that pause, you get a lot of strikes. The color is pretty good. I mean, it's a bright pinkish orange red color. So it's gonna really stand out right now with the water being still kind of cold, and you get a lot of overcasty days. Something so the bass can see, the pike bass can see that really well in that darker stained water. With the overcast and it's just cold, so it's gonna pop out to them really well. And then when you get that pause going, just let it sit there. It's not gonna float up. It's not gonna sink. It's just gonna kind of stay right there. And the bass and pike, we're gonna be able to smack that thing. Next up, this is one I was questionable about. It's a chase baits. It's called a paddle bait. 5.5 inches. It's a pearl prong. It's a big paddle tail swim bait. That is huge. I would never even use that. That's something somebody would use for like a muskie, or I don't even have a hook big enough to put in there. So that was kind of one of those I was like, yeah, never gonna use that. But everything else in here was pretty good. So we're not even gonna really talk about that. Let's see. Last we have the X Zone Adrenaline Crawl. This is in the California 420 X Zone there. So it's like it's basically a watermelon red. It's just they got put their own twist on the color name, but it's really nice looking craw. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. It's got the appendages that are tapered. If you can see that, try to get that on camera. So it's got tapered appendages, so that's going to catch the water really well and flutter those the claws on it really, really nicely. Watermelon red is a really good color. So I will be definitely using these guys out. Come here when the craw bite gets going. Watermelon red, love it. Yeah, it's a good profile too. Like the size of it is perfect. Those appendages are great. The color's great. It's a floating. The claws actually float though. So what I can do is if I decide to put on a jig or just I'm gonna weighted Texas frigate. So what's gonna happen is if I stop it, just let it sit on the bottom, those claws are actually gonna kind of slowly rise up. And that's actually going to mimic a real crawl pretty nicely, because if you ever see a crawfish, they'll actually bring their claws up as a defense. So that's actually going to be really, really cool. I'm going to be throwing these around quite a bit. I'm trying to get away from some of the stuff I normally throw. I want to try some new crawfish style baits. You guys know me, I love a creature crawl bait. I love to just Texas rig those things, throw them up under docks, and just rip their lips off. I've actually done that to a rock bass, flew that guy straight over the side of my boat, and he went flying. So, yeah, so that's it for the bag. That's the monthly, the Monsterbass bag for April of 2021. If you guys want to see more unboxings, leave a comment down below and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and we'll keep doing videos like this every month. I got the 6 cent sack coming up at the end of the month, and knowing me, I'll probably be putting in some orders. I haven't put anything in a little bit since the last unboxing that we did. So so far it's just been Monsterbass bag. Yeah, so we'll be doing some more unboxings when the 6 cent sack comes in, and we'll be getting on the water with some of these baits. Not that. That's gonna hang on the wall. That's gonna be decoration. So yeah, if you guys like the content, hit that like button, notification, leave a comment down below, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.